And are we live? Yes, we are live. We are live. Sabaho, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning with Tech. It is episode 87. And again, problem. I guess this is a problem that purely is affected only on my end because I purposely did this. It's actually notifying me that I actually just went live. So hold on, let me just bring up the volume rocker and let's just turn off the notification sound. So, oh, no, I didn't turn it off. This one's still running. If you guys are noticing that this is the brand new Redmagic 6S Pro. Good morning, Sabahar, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Hold on, I gotta learn how to do these things. Go over here. Yeah, bring it in and bring down that part. Um, it's Saturday. It is also September 11th. I do want to say, and I want to take an opportunity just a second there to remember is current, the day in this time in history 20 years ago and where we were about 20 years ago. It's a little bit of a somber start of a show, but um, there's always something. There's always somebody somehow where whenever you say the date of today, September 11th, you always remember exactly where you were. And something that I may have not shared with a lot of people actually. During that event 20 years ago, I was actually on a morning run. I was in the street, I was running, and a buddy of mine called me, and he said, "Did you just see the news?" And I'm like, "No, I'm running. I'm not even listening to the news. I'm listening to my music." And then that kind of stopped me in my grounds, and I kind of walked back to home and saw the show. Well, not the show. Saw what happened essentially. But it's a sad day in history, and it's a day we need to remember and we need to move forward from. So, for anybody and everybody that does is aware of what happened September 11th, 20 years ago, my thoughts go out to everybody and anybody that was affected by it. And of course, the hope is that with this can bring us together and we can move forward together and be better than where we are or where we were. Um, I see in the chat. Hold on a second. Let me just resize it correctly. So I don't know if I also mentioned this as well. I did suffer a power outage this morning, a very interesting power outage. It happened at a weird time. It happened in the middle, it was actually early in the morning. Sabaho, Simon says hypno there. Mustahim is in there. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Girl is in there as well. Jimmy Fire Dragon, Greg, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I hope my levels are good. So, hopefully we'll be able to start this weekend off on the right foot. Um, I took that day off, and I was shocked to see it live on TV when I drove past the penthouse. Yeah, it was a tough time. It was like I said, everybody knows exactly where they were. It's like that. It's a frozen moment in time that we all know how much of an impact that day did to us, and where we are and how things have changed for us. Actually, a lot of things in the world changed. That day was a massive day in history. It's definitely one of those focal points in time that we will always remember. But yes, thank you. Appreciate it, Greg. Always appreciate it. Coming down from yesterday's event, yesterday we had a show with Juan Carlos. We were at the park. We were kicking it. And unfortunately, due to technical problems, after I watched the show one more time after the end, StreamYard, for some reason, kept wanting to switch me back to 360p. So the video didn't look as good as it could have. Although the audio podcast was on point, Rode delivered like there's never been before. So audio wise, if you guys want to catch up on the replay crew there, the best of our week show, which was an in-person show, and I got to get a pair of KZ6 driver earbuds in the IEMs directly from Juan. And I want to say thank you again to JC for allowing me to hang out. And not only that, just hang out, handing me over audio gear to just basically take me deeper into that audio equipment rabbit hole that I seem to be diving into a lot of things. And it's one of those things that you want to keep in mind that it's appreciative. Like I said, he's a good buddy, he's a good guy, and we always kick it, and so we're always having fun. But with that being said, I did get a chance to. Well, I do have my hands on the brand new Redmagic 6S Pro. It's a successor, kind of like the T series to what we normally see from other companies. And I don't mean T like with OnePlus, because I think OnePlus typically well, at least last year changed their methodology when it came down to their T series. Um, this is truly an upgrade. It's a better processor, some better configurations. There's also some aesthetical differences. They added a heart rate sensor on the fingerprint sensor, which is something different. They're using a Gen 7 fingerprint sensor, which is a little bit better. That includes the heart rate sensor. They have a design, or one of the aesthetic designs, which unfortunately is not the one they sent me. that has a see-through back, which you get a chance to basically see and appreciate the mechanics of the fan when it's turning on and working. They did stay true to the message of having the fan, the intake and the outtake fans built into the side. This is kind of like their moniker, similar to kind of like the whole beard situation going on with the channel. Um, LED lights still there, present on the back. Still no 120 20 watt, charging speed. I was expecting that to be maybe the next evolution to be part of that. Although they did keep the same battery size, so we're still looking at a 5,050 milliampere battery charged up. The included charger in the box is a 30-watt charger internationally, and you can pick up a 66-watt charger. I coincidentally, because I have the Snapdragon Insider phone that comes with Quick Charge 5.0 technology, I had a 100-watt Quick Charge 5.0 charger, and surprisingly, this does actually deliver the 60 or the 66 watt needed to provide the faster charging. So there are other options, and I think if I'm not mistaken, not that long ago, I want to say Babis, I'm maybe saying the name wrong, also sent me a Quick Charge 5.0 charger. There's a lot of options. But the short answer is it's a spec bump. It's a small improvement over what we got earlier in the year. Now the CPU threshold of the CPU is basically pushed up on the prime core to 3 gigahertz. So there's a little bit of an overclock. That's not due to the 888 Plus. That's mostly due to what basically Redmagic is doing to tune in the experience. So they are giving us a little bit of an improvement. Same 165 hertz refresh rate, crazy fast refresh rate. I mean, 65. Like I said, it's faster than the monitor that's up there. And that's exactly what I said about the 6 earlier in the year. It's one of those things that I think we have to kind of appreciate gaming phones and what they can do. Camera setup didn't change much. I think the kind of overall experience is pretty much the same capabilities. The 888, again, is still at its core. What do you have? Stereo speakers, headphone jack still there. The triggers did have an improvement. They did actually increase the touch sensitivity on them to, I think, was it 720 hertz, which means that they're much more responsive than they were before. Although I want to say the 6 was also very responsive, so I'm not going to say that they were too far off too far off before, but they definitely is enough of an improvement. If you're looking to pick one up, I think the 6S Pro would definitely kick in. So essentially, this is the S series of the Redmagic 6. I see Russ is in the chat as well, and then I say, oh man. Oh man, I really appreciate people that jump into the chat, but I want to say this. Please and understand this. Just really understand the fact that the point of the show isn't to basically push anybody's way in or anything like that. If you're not going to be cordial, if you're not going to be understanding of what's going on with the chat and waiting a little bit, I realize if you post a comment and I don't necessarily get to it in the second that it was posted, it doesn't mean I didn't see it. It just means that I'm going to come back to the comments in a second. There's obviously the main point of the conversation that we're going on today. But once it becomes a situation where you're getting into a situation where you're becoming a little bit out there, unfortunately, that just pretty much puts you out into where I can't respond to your show or your comment or anything like that. And that's just not the right thing. So please be respectful. Russ, oh, okay. So it's a different fingerprint sensor than the S21 Ultra. I will say that S21 Ultra's fingerprint sensor has been running a little bit weird for me lately. Like it'll work good on a couple of times, and then suddenly out of the blue, it starts to basically just not work. Like it won't read my fingerprint when the screen doesn't have a touchpad. But if I swipe up to get the keypad to put in my PIN as opposed to using the fingerprint sensor, then the fingerprint sensor works perfectly fine. So a little bit hit and miss. But with this one, actually, it's not bad. Pretty fast. It's optical, so that's one of the big differences, but it also has a built-in heart rate monitor. So what I mean by this is, hold on, let me switch over. I think we can switch over to this one. So here we are. So here's the fingerprint sensor. So let me show you what I mean. So it's actually very, here we are, very fast. As long as you center it, it is crazy fast. Now, one thing I will probably say here, let's just put it in. This is the new thing that they added. It's a heart rate sensor added to the fingerprint sensor. So essentially, you just put your finger and you wait for it, and you're able to get your heartbeat measured at this point. So at this point, it's like 89, 81, 79, 81, 86, 84. Wow, I'm getting excited there. Beats per minute, and then you're able to get it right there. So essentially I'm in the green zone, I'm in the normal zone, and I can say finish. And when I go home, now you have a little widget that's sitting there telling you exactly what it is. And of course, some new fan configurations and options that you have. The 6S Pro, for the most part, again, runs the same. Physical dimensions are pretty much the same, which pretty much also means that we can also use the exact accessory that we used with the 6 Pro. So if you've used those, if you purchased them in the past, especially the dual fan cooler that they had with the 6S or the 6 Pro, I'm really a big fan of that one. Okay, so Greg's saying TK beards still look good. So yes, early in the morning, I was in the middle of shaving, and we had a power outage this morning, so there was a little accident where I pretty much decided, after that, I'm just going to clean up everything. There was no real reason for me to keep a lot of them, and I kind of seriously started to contemplate and what would happen if we just kind of go back to the pre-beard time, like rewind the time and stuff like that. I don't know why it kind of jumped in my mind. So I kind of posted a picture, like, hey, look, new look kind of thing. We basically wanted to see what people thought. I'm a little bit on the fence. I'm almost tempted. I want to say that I wouldn't mind maybe going a couple of weeks or so, maybe a short amount of time without one, and then basically growing it back again. This does take some time. That's primarily why I didn't actually cut this portion of the beard. I know that the side part of it typically will go back in about a week or so that's not a big problem. But the length for what this is, and if you guys remember, it used to be even longer than that. That takes months. That takes a long time, and there's a lot of growing pain that comes with growing a beard like that. But yes, thanks, appreciate it, Greg. So Russ is back. Is that there's a lot of 1080p smartphones with a 1440p would be nice. Would be a nice welcome. So what's been happening and what's been the limitation that we've been hitting right now is that I think with QHD or the 1440p is what Russ is mentioning. I think the limitation we've been able to get to right now is 120 hertz. We haven't broken that barrier on the QHD. Now, Sony, on the other hand, said, pretty much hold my beer conversation type of a thing. And they're like, no, we're going to give you 4K at 120. So it seems like 120 at a higher resolution than 1080p seems to be the best situation we can do right now, even if you're jumping into 4K and where Sony is the only player there. And I think the Xperia 1 Mark III is the only device to carry that. Because if you jump to the Xperia 5 Mark III, which was advertised and hopefully coming up in the near future, that's only going to go to 120. So keep I'll say this. I appreciate higher refresh rates, and I want to be able to play games at the best, highest resolution possible. And 1080p at 165 frames per second, I think still works pretty good, because you have to kind of keep in mind, the faster the frame rate, the resolution can't keep up with it. You're not going to be able to get that super crisp image running that fast, especially when we're talking like 165, not 120. 120 resolution seems to be very capable. AMOLED seems to be able to handle it, and we have a reasonable amount of devices that carry it. The Find X3 Pro, obviously OnePlus goes into the same conversation. Samsung finally decided to jump on the board with that one and give us the ability of having adaptive as opposed to having one or the other, which is what we typically had last year. So I'm with you. I want to see more devices give us the ability of going to 1440p at least 120, maybe 144. But I think hopefully we'll see what Qualcomm says at the end of the year when they start showing us what their next generation of SoCs are going to be. But I also think at the end of the day, it's a cost price point break right now. Most of the devices that we're seeing QHD with 120 are $1,000 plus, where 1080p seems to be much more of a more affordable price point for OEMs and companies to be able to build on to provide us higher refresh rate. And it's very similar to the way we see it on PCs. PC gaming typically has the highest refresh rate at the lower resolutions, as opposed to basically when you go to the highest resolution, you drop down, you kind of get a little bit less, like 120 at 1440p, but 240 at 1080p on the monitor that I have in the back, which I would kind of venture to say I would rather have 1440p at 120. I'm with you. Higher resolution, always better. Chemi's in the chat. Greg is in there. Hey, and Simon says, how's the heat on the 888 Plus? So the 888 Plus, or at least, the heat control or the heat, let's say this, temperatures on this are very much the same as we saw with the 888. There's no big difference. It does generate heat, but it does actually a much better job at dissipating the heat. This is where the difference where Redmagic comes in, and where gaming phones try to push or at least manage the 888 a little bit better than what we've seen with other devices. There is a built-in actual opening that goes from one side to the other side of the phone to pull in cold air and push it out. Now, it doesn't reduce the temperature of the phone, meaning if your hands are in here and you're playing, and I'm talking about half an hour to 2 hour range, consistent gaming, like let's say a couple of games of PUBG, jumping into Call of Duty, jumping into maybe some real racing, or even a Genshin Impact, which will definitely heat up your phone. that's going to be something that you want to pay attention to. That's going to be something that's going to definitely drive the temperatures. If you're using something, which I always appreciate, this is the thing. I know the 888 is just not going to change, right? This is what we're in September. So we're on the 11th of September, and we are still not. We're not going to basically see any better improvement because we already saw what the 888 Plus is going to do. I think solutions like these, and let me see if I can get it to fit back in there because I know it fit with the other one. Solutions like these, insert basically your personal favorite controller, be it with the mount, and be it basically mounts on the phone like the Kishi does. And by the way, this is actually stretching the Kishi to its limit, so it's not necessarily intended for the Kishi, but it fits. I think it will be the best solution for us. The ability of actually appreciating the temperature, not appreciating the temperature, but appreciating the performance on it. And as long as you have a good cooling system, similar to what we have with the Redmagic series, I feel like you're able to play for a longer time. So for me, when I was testing it and I'm getting ready for the videos, um, there's going to be a few videos coming up. Obviously, there's going to be one for XDA and a couple of one for the English and Arabic channel for my channels. Um, those are going to be kind of like the story that I'm going with. Yes, it's warm. I think at this point in the year, we could pretty much accept that the 888 is the 888. There's not much we could change about it. The hope that it Plus was going to fix something is not materializing. The 888 Plus is truly intended for better AI processing and essentially just a later SKU release, and therefore a slightly better improvement in certain scenarios, but not overall in temperatures. It's still the same. It still provides the same performance when it comes down to horsepower. The architecture is the same. The ISP setup is the same. You're not really getting much in there. You're just getting better AI processing, which again is beneficial, but not the same upgrade that we typically see. Redmagic did decide, though, to overclock the 888 Plus to 3 gigahertz on the Prime core, as opposed to what we had before, and that was something that we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that in the review, or in the video that I'm pushing out for it. Oh man, I think I jumped here. Marco, hey man, hope you're doing well. Let me see here. I think I missed a couple of comments in there. Hey, Aditya's in the chat, man. Good morning. Hey, Aditya Sabaho. Let me see here. Mahob. Let me see. Can I watch for 250 or watch for which one should I choose? Okay, so Mehub's asking a question. Sorry, I highlighted, forgot about that. Okay, so the question is basically, should you go for the Watch 3 for 250 euros or for the Watch 4 for 400 euros? So there's the biggest divide here between the two, Mahub, is basically Android Wear, really. The 3 isn't going to get it. It's going to be staying with whatever it is. It's a great watch for the ecosystem that Samsung has built in. But at some point or another, I'm assuming production or software update and feature inclusion are going to basically shift their effort towards the Android Wear. Tizen is unfortunately pretty much on the way out for Samsung. So if you haven't purchased a watch and you're looking to go obviously for a few years, because that's typically the watch purchase that most of us do, I think what we probably would say, I think the 4 may be better as far as the selection. But what I'm wondering is, are you going for the LTE model or are you going for the standard model? Because when you say 400 euros, I'm assuming you're closer to what I ended up picking up, which was around 400 something dollars. If you're going to get it without LTE, I don't think it's going to be that expensive. You could still pick it up for a little bit less than the 400 mark. But I would actually just end up looking at it this: if you've never used a watch before, I think you should stick with the system that's going to move forward. And I think the classic, the Watch 4 is going to be the better bet moving forward for Samsung. And also it opens up the Android Wear ecosystem. So you're literally getting a much better interface, a much better ecosystem to build on. Nothing against the 3, but if budget is more of a factor in the conversation, then the 3 can definitely work for you. And it's going to serve you very well for years to come. They're very similar in aesthetics. The design of the buttons are slightly different. The display are also very bright on both ends. You still have that swivel crown on them if you get the classic, or I think in the 46 millimeter did have one from last year. So I think overall you'll be enjoying it there, but I'd recommend you going with the 4 mostly for future proofing. Just you'll have better ecosystem support, especially with Android Wear system support there. I think I saw... Yeah, no, appreciate your support, TTA. Yeah, no problem. I saw the comment too, and I just didn't feel, um, and it is something just sad. But yeah, like I said, understand that this is, it's a sad. There's a lot of comments coming through, and we have a nice balance between the two. So please be respectful for in that matter. Okay, so I think I'm catching up on who in there. Simon says, couldn't get my headphones to work. Hello, a couple of people. Hey man, how Joe Hickey's in the chat. Um, Oh, okay. So Tweet was saying the ROG Phone 5 is a okay, it's a goat. Okay, so don't dis okay, so there's a different point of reference when we talk about the ROG phone, right? Um, sorry, ASUS's approach to the ROG phone this year is basically a three-tier, right? There's the 5, there's the 5 Pro, and the 5 Pro Plus, I think. And I'm not sure about the last one. I agree. I think if you want to kind of compare the two, the ROG Phone 5, comparing it to the 6S Pro, I feel like the ROG Phone 5 would still technically perform better in the sense that it has a better DAC supporting on the headphone jack. The ecosystem obviously is still very similar. They're both gaming phones. Both of them are going to get warm. Both of them are going to give you basically high refresh rate, great performance. But I still think that the Redmagic pushes it a little bit further with the 165. It still also kind of pushes a little bit more with a price point because it's a little bit less expensive than the ROG series. So you kind of also you have to kind of play the game of what do I value to what do I need and what do I want at the end of the conversation. If your primary reason for getting this phone is to play games and enjoy content on it, I feel like the Red Magic 6 provides a very comparable experience to what the ROG Phone 5 gives you, minus the headphone jack audio experience. The ROG Phone 5, by definition, by just the fact that it has a better DAC, a quad DAC supporting it, you'll get better audio not only from the speakers but also from the headphone jack, which is a plus. But if money is an issue, I feel like still an Red Magic 6S Pro or 6 Pro can still give you a pretty decent experience, and you don't have to jump over to that level. It depends again on what you need and what you want. But no question about it, though, the ROG Phone 5 is an amazing phone, and it is definitely a lot of fun to play with. We are still using the ROG Phone 2 as a gaming phone in this family, and again, purely for gaming. We don't use it for cameras. We don't use it for anything else. It is not doing anything else other than run games, and my son loves it. So that's literally what we want to look at it from there. مارك سعد صباحو حبيبنا صباحو. Let me see here. Oh, yep, might just put Android 11 on my Nexus 6P RAM this morning. Greg just wants to mod everything, but yes, I think Android. So the 5 Android 12 beta 5 dropped in the middle of this week. So we're in September, and if I remember correctly, and maybe somebody can correct me in the chat, I remember the roadmap that we saw from Qualcomm, not Qualcomm, from Google earlier in the year. It was supposed to be like around this time is when we start seeing the full version of Android 12. Now we're seeing that this is getting to be more of a solid performer. The widgets are in there. We're seeing better improvements over basically the clock improvements. The Easter egg is finally incorporated in there on how to activate it and turn it on and access it. So it truly is almost like you can see they're literally putting the final touches on a fully baked, fully glazed, fully decorated cake. This is literally the final touches before they basically turn on the candles and sing happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's going to be that. And I'm pretty sure that's where we are. We're very, very close. I did install it on the Pixel 5a, which was a nice little addition that I wanted to go for. I've been playing with it on the Pixel 4a from last year. So the lower performer from last year, basically the entry level Pixel. And we've had the Pixel 5a for the last couple of weeks or so. So I wanted to play with it. And I was like, why not try to put it on? And surprisingly, as you'd imagine, the 765 handles it very nicely. So there's no question. It's not an issue, but definitely very nice. I like, yes, the RGB on the 6S Pro adds frames per second. I really wish. There is a little bit of a thing that's getting me right now. So as you guys know, when I do my videos, especially when I'm including content from the game, I like to record my games when I'm playing games on the phone. So that's a big measurement also of how does the phone handle not only playing for 30 minutes at a time, but recording video. So meaning it's reading and writing from the game point of view, but it's also writing to the hard drive at the same time by recording. So it definitely pushes the system a little bit further than your typical gaming experience. But one thing I did notice that for some reason, and I can assume only that this is basically how their video recording application is done, but I'm waiting on a confirmation from Redmagic, is that whenever you're playing a game, let's say you're playing Call of Duty or you're playing Real Racing 3, anything that uses the higher refresh rate, which by the way, Call of Duty Mobile does support 120 frames per second gameplay on this phone. But whenever you're running the video app to record video when you're playing, for some reason, the frames per second dips. Real Racing goes from 165, which you could see because it has an option to turn on the refresh rate display on it. It drops from 165 to 120 instantaneously the moment I start recording. And then for some reason, Call of Duty drops from 120 to 90 when I do that. So there seems to be something that is causing my refresh rate. So I can't show it in the video other than recording just a like B-roll showing me playing it so I can show those numbers. It's going to be one of those things. I mean, it's fast. There's no question about that. And I really wish that the RGB did actually add a lot more frames per second in there, especially when we were playing. Joe says in there, "Hey man, hope you're doing well." Oh, sorry. Yeah, Joe's doing good. I swear, Greg single-handed it might take away from the local smartphone sales by keeping. Oh, I really hope that Greg can do that. He's definitely really, really nice in that sense. He keeps up with a lot of the updates and a lot of the improvements coming up, especially when the ROM development. Juan and I yesterday were talking about that specifically, actually, when we start talking about Android and so on. And it is going to be an interesting approach, right? I mean, so far, and again, I haven't really noticed a big difference, but the change in material design or the new UI element that we're seeing with Android 12 is very much an indication of what Google wants to have as their own skin. So this is literally now Google flavor or the Pixel flavor of Android, which is now Material U. They've gone and Juan was saying that pretty good yesterday. They've gone through a certain period of time where the aesthetics of Android on Pixel devices was considered to be stock Android. A lot of companies try to mimic stock Android. A lot of people say, I love more of a stock Android experience. And what they're saying is, I enjoy I don't know how to explain it. Like, so most of them don't mean AOSP. I don't think most of people that say I like stock Android are referring to Android at its original source, basically, where it basically it's how Android is released. Android is released as part of the AOSP. It's not released the way Pixel or Google is releasing it. What Google does is they make their version of Android run the way they need it and optimize to run on their hardware. So what we get is a Pixel flavor of Android, but most people have referred to it as stock. Now Google is shifting that conversation. Google's bringing us a UI element called Material U, which is very more animated, more bubbly. The icons are different. The notification shade is different. The settings menu is very different, even down to the icons and widgets. We're starting to see some new widgets even added there. Surprisingly, by the way, if you guys want to check it out, there was an article posted earlier. I think it was on XDA. You can actually download the widgets from the Material U Android 12 Beta 5 update and install it on other devices, and actually should work as a widget. So if you're interested and you want to check it out, it's not super bad, super hard to be able to do it. But short answer, we're going to change that conversation. And one thing that I was really excited to see within the last few months, as we were looking at other Android devices to show us what they wanted to do with Android 12, was the announcement. Google announced that it's a partnership. We have OnePlus, we have ColorOS, we have Oppo, of course, we have Vivo. I think we had Sharp. I want to say there was I want to say Motorola was part of it, but we haven't really seen a lot of updates. I mean, OnePlus pushed out one update and then they took it back. Then they pushed it back, and then it was pretty much standard. It was like a version of Android 12 that was early alpha, but it was never really updated since. And it's been months now since we've seen an update to it. And I think we haven't really heard much from OnePlus. We're very close to Android 12 coming up. So I'm really wondering what's going to happen. Will OEMs skin Android so much that that Material U function that we get will become purely a Pixels type of an experience? Or will companies like Sony and Motorola adapt that, and that becomes part of Sony? Or will Sony stay more closer to what we typically know as stock Android and keep the experience there when they update to Android 12? So we don't have any information from them yet. Sony's not typically one to release early beta access, but I think it's definitely a big change for a lot of companies, and I'm interested to see what their approach is going to be. Adopt Google's approach by Material U, and can they do that, or will it just pretty much look like ColorOS on top of an Oppo device, Oxygen OS on top of a OnePlus device, and of course Xiaomi with their MIUI system? We'll have to see what they have. Sorry. Golan Lavi is actually saying here, hey TK, the Oppo Reno is the Oppo Reno high price? Example, the Reno 6 5G. Depends on where you're getting it. Typically, Reno devices used to be very expensive, but by comparison to some of the other line of devices that Oppo releases, it's considered to be more of their mid-ranger, and they're running more of MediaTek processors, so they're really going to be more on the mid-range. If that price is a little bit too high, I honestly would recommend either looking to a Pixel or maybe even a OnePlus Nord. Nord is actually doing a pretty decent job. The Nord 2 just got released not that long ago, and you may end up getting a little bit better experience there. And the Nord 2 is also using MediaTek processors, the Dimensity 1200 AI, specifically made for them. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the 6 Pro, the one that you're referring to, if I'm not mistaken, is the 6 one. You're not even referring to the 6 Pro. It actually should be a lot less expensive. I think the 6 Pro is the one running around $500. So the 6 should be much better, unless you're referring to the Pro. But I would double check and see what, AliExpress, or if so, being that it's been out for a little bit, you may be able to find some, depending if you're comfortable looking at used markets. You have to always kind of keep in mind, once the device is out for a couple of months, you'll start seeing some people selling them, and you may be able to save a few dollars on that way. But the Reno 6 Pro, at least that I got a chance to check out, was absolutely stellar. Camera performance is typical to what we get from Oppo. Battery life is pretty much there, and of course, the Dimensity 1200 AI, or the Dimensity 1200 on this, actually performed quite well. I was surprised. MediaTek is catching up very fast to what Qualcomm has been handing out. They're not exactly at 888 speeds. They're closer to 880, 865, 855 experience, but that's still very fast to what we've seen in the past. Fat Brodos, Andrew's in the show. Hey, man, hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing great. Let me see here. I think I saw that idea. Do you think 60 is overkill for an iPhone? So I'll say this. Yes, 16 gigabytes is way more than an iPhone will ever need. And the reason behind that isn't because iPhones can't use it. It's because of the Apple ecosystem. Apple's optimization, how do I explain it? Apple optimizes their system to run on the hardware that they want to put in there. They typically don't shift into 16 or 20 gigs. I mean, they'll do perfectly fine in 4 to 8 gigs of RAM than having to go to 16 gigs, because there's the bigger factor of this is they don't want their smartphone to be more powerful than their tablet line. You have to realize that there's an ecosystem balance between devices, and no one device should be more powerful than what you're supposed to get if you needed more of a. I mean, think of it this way: they gave the M1 over to the iPad Pro, but they didn't really give it all of the power that the M1 could do if it was running, let's say, on a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro. So you see how they're kind of doing it. They always kind of have a certain performance to price point to feature set to device strategy that has to match. So will they, or can they do that much? Maybe at some point they will try to put a special edition version that goes up to 16 gigs. But the reality, when you look at it from a performance standpoint, there really isn't much on the mobile aspect world right now that uses it. We're not talking about a folding phone. We're not talking about a real estate or external display desktop mode that you're going to be able to plug in for some reason that you can leverage the 16. That's just going to be overkill. What I do think, and this is something that we've been waiting for a long time, is Apple needs to jump on the 120 hertz refresh rate. I mean, the reality of the matter is this: we've had Retina displays, we've had promotion displays on the iPad series, and everybody that's used anything like that with iPads, they love it, and they've been wanting to see it there. And it's been some time. And I really feel like this is the time where Apple needs to pull the trigger on this and basically just say, look, we're going to bring in the ProMotion, maybe even bring it on the Pro Max, bring in as a feature to get people to upgrade, which I think is what they're trying to do. They did that with the 12 pretty well. So if that methodology continues, then that'll be also another reason for people to go for the Pro series on their sites. And not to say that I want to basically, you want to basically gate it kind of a situation, but make it that could truly be a Pro feature for people that look for it. It makes it a much better gaming phone for people, especially when they play high refresh rate games. Nothing's wrong with 60 frames when it's done correctly, and they do an amazing job there. But I feel like they haven't even broken into 90. So the reality is they need to jump straight to 120, give that massive boost in performance. It's going to be a battery hit, but that's where you also want to basically maybe increase the size of the battery a little bit. Don't keep it at the same capacity as we've seen it in the past. But I think that's the time for us to see. 16 gigs of RAM, I feel like should be maybe 3 to 4 steps behind 120 hertz. I think 120 hertz promotion on an iPhone needs to happen. Android has proven it year over year that people appreciate high refresh rate. 165 frames per second on this guy, and I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I love having devices like this. Like I gravitate towards devices that support a high refresh rate. I gravitate towards support devices that can offer me more opportunities to enjoy my content better, either be it social media, either be it gaming, either be it just scrolling through the UI elements and on my device. I want it to be fluid and I want it to feel faster. Surprisingly enough, high refresh rate makes your phone feel like it runs faster because it is. The display refreshes faster and the image is crisper faster as you're going between different motion. And more than likely, typically when you see 120, it's really 240 with black frame insertion that brings it down to 120. So you're still definitely going to be enjoying it quite a bit. But I'm with you. I think 16 gig would be amazing if they were able to use it. But I feel like there's a limitation of what Apple wants to do. They don't want their iPhone to compete with their iPads on top of the fact that the iPhones just don't get that level. And yeah, no, Simon says Hypno says 90 frames. It's actually a big difference when you go from from 60 to 90 hertz. It's a 50% improvement in performance over what you've seen before, and you're definitely going to notice it. There is a massive jump between 50% over what you have is a big jump. Now I realize people say, well, from 60 to 90 is the best sweet spot, but then from 90 to 120 is not as much, and that's because at that point you have to realize that it's actually not 50% anymore. You're actually going up about 33%. So the improvement is actually less from 90 to 120 where you were from 60 to 90. Not trying to go math on all of that stuff, but I think that's why most people don't notice it. It's actually a much smaller improvement bump. So if you want to go 60 to 120, that's a big bump. If you want to go 60 to 90, that's a big bump. And those are going to be the big benefits. And we've seen 90 hertz on a lot of devices. Even I want to say even the N100 had 90 hertz, and that was like around a $200 phone. That's how crazy it is, and it's little features like that I feel like people will appreciate, and you'll also be able to kind of keep your gaming enthusiast core base that loves to play games on your system, as opposed to losing them to companies that provide a better solution when it comes down to refresh rate, especially for gamers. Like for me, my desktop experience is pretty much what I try to emulate on my mobile device. So that's why I appreciate Call of Duty at 120 frames per second over, let's say, playing it at 60 or 90. That's why when I want to play PUBG Mobile, I want to get it at 60 frames per second consistent all throughout the experience. I want to play Genshin Impact at 60 frames per second with maxed out everything. Those are the things you want. And right now, I feel like the iPhone is hindered by the display speed. And that's something that we need to kind of look into, of course. Here. So Aditya is jumping in. Yeah, I don't think Apple wants anyone their devices cutting into profits from their other devices. It's been their motto for literally like when we saw the M1 go in on the MacBook Pro, everybody was like, "This is going to be the best thing ever." And then you get it, and then you're like, "Oh, so you gave me the better processor, but you're still giving me the same experience as before." And I kind of understand it. You don't want the MacBook Pro to take over performance. Or say you don't want to take market share away from the AirPad, the Air series or the Pro series. Sorry, I was blanking on that one. Um, Clara, yeah, using software is something Apple exceeds at, and that's one of those things. They can optimize their system literally to the last ounce to get you the best performance on a 4 or 8 gigs device. So again, more RAM for them is not a big thing. It's very similar to where Google works. You'll notice that Pixels typically don't come with anything more than 10, or not more than 10. I think 8 is the most we've seen, and 10 to 12 and 16 and 14, all of those extras, I think they don't really need much of that because their system runs so light, especially from the system UI element, and then on the software for the operating system, it doesn't run very heavy. So they never actually end up using all of that RAM. And I think Apple does the exact same. Right. Yeah. Here. Um, Russ is saying, yeah, for example, an M1 iPad may be maybe better buy than than a MacBook Air one. Yeah, and I don't think Apple wants you to think that the M1 the iPad Pro would definitely be taken into that. I think they're like, hey, if you want a laptop with an M1, the MacBook Air is going to be the one that you want to go for because that truly runs Mac OS on it. And although we know that the M1 can run Mac OS, on iPad OS still feels like an iPad experience. Although you may get some improvements overall in performance, it's still not gonna, it's not gonna be one for one. So that's one of the things. They did try to make it look like a laptop a little bit more, and I think that's one of those things. Uh, Okay, let me see here. Hold on, sorry. I think I might have missed. Oh, Sarah, Joe's jumping at Apple can't call a phone Pro without a higher refresh rate now. We've got budget devices at 120. Exactly, and that's one of those things that I feel like, how long can you call something Pro, and adding a sensor to a camera, and adding a camera sensor is no longer just a justification for a Pro. I realize that you have more capabilities and more things you could do with the additional sensor, or if you have better sensors on it, typically that's obviously a much better. But a professional can perform just as good with the entry level iPhone 12 to and provide you still amazing pictures with that, and not necessarily need the sensors on the Pro series. So it's really more about the user. But again, the Pro moniker is sadly being used in the wrong spots. Sony knows how to do Pro. When they said the Pro, the Xperia Pro, they truly meant a prosumer piece of hardware. Where everybody else that uses the word Pro, they typically means slightly better than the standard model that you're releasing, and they don't want to call it the slightly better model. They just want to call it Pro. So it truly ends up becoming where it is the best version of that phone or the series of devices. But it is something that you want to keep in mind is, what is the goal? What's the end goal of what you're trying to do with your phone? I'll have to say that. Let me see here. So here, Joe's saying is I'm very happy with 90 hertz on my Pixel 5, and I never tried 120. 120, like I said, it truly depends on what you do. If you have applications that utilize the 120, like if you are a gamer and you love having the higher refresh rate, there's a lot of things could be said. Yes, 120 could definitely be a big changer for you. But if really all you're doing is social media and your normal daily usage of your smartphone, you're going to notice the best performance at 90. Your battery will love you a little bit more longer when you have that with 90 hertz as opposed to 120, because the display doesn't have to work as hard. So there's also those kind of pros and cons, kind of like leveraging kind of conversation. The 765 can handle 90 hertz like a champ. There's no question there. The P5, obviously smaller display, that works really good. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get from the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro. Sorry, I had a little bit thing flying here. But I can definitely appreciate 90 hertz on any device. We just want more options. That's really what it is. Okay, so Golan's asking a very interesting question here. The golden question: what smartphone would you choose? The price does not matter for your personal use. Just one smartphone. If I had to kind of put my hand down and then basically just pick one phone to go out the door, and that's going to be the phone I can't come back and pick up another phone from my office right now, I would say if I had it, which is the weird situation, I would say the Xperia 1 Mark III, mostly because of, as a smartphone that encompasses everything that I want and everything that I feel like we're missing from other smartphones, that's going to be there. The camera system is advanced enough to give me some of the best options we can. We can take pictures at 100. We can take videos at 4K, 60, 30, 24, 120. We can record at 8K. We now have also the new system with the telephoto lens with the dual aperture up there. Headphone jack, quad DAC supported headphone jack, stereo speakers that sound great, expandable storage, 4K display, 4K 120 hertz refresh rate display for gaming. So when you're looking at it from a best combination, not to put any of the other devices down, but every other device that we have right now on the market has certain things either that are missing or a different direction that they're going with, and that's the approach there. That's the one I would go. Hopefully that gives you the answer. And I'm pretty sure some of the people in the comments will be like, that was not a surprise, TK. We knew you were going to go there. Let me hear. Joey B's in the chat. Hey, man. Hey, Joey. Hope you're doing well. I knew it was going to be the... Yeah, I'm sorry. There is no question. So you really have to look at it as, what is it that you want? What is it that you always feel like you're missing when you're holding a piece of a device on the phone, on the market? Great phone, a lot of things going on for it. The headphone jack is okay. It's not the best. No expandable storage. That's another big thing. Stereo speakers are decent, but I feel like the placement of them sideways, like seriously, look, this is the configuration that it needs to be. Speaker forward, speaker forward. That's not how we have it here. We have front facing to side facing. So whenever I'm holding the phone, I always have to cup it so that I can actually get the sound to bounce back. I feel like there are certain certain things in the recipe of that phone. And I say that because I think it's a decision made, right? When they're designing this phone, they're specifically designing it with certain decisions. I think those are the things that we need to kind of look at it. I don't know if it was a cost expense, it's cheaper to have the speaker firing down to the side. I don't know if it's a cost specifically for them, but front-facing speakers for the win all the time. Ever since the M7 from HTC, front-facing speakers with boom sound back then, those are the things you want to do. So for me, those are the things that I when I see the Xperia 1 Mark III, I feel like that's where the company is literally speaking to me. I am in that niche market that Sony is looking for and Sony is building on. I just literally upgraded my overhead camera last couple of days. Remember, I think I mentioned to you guys, Sony sent me the E10 to play around with. We did the live stream with it a couple of weeks ago, and I liked that camera so much. I ended up replacing my overhead camera with it. So I ended up picking up one for myself directly. It's finally available on the market, and I really like it. It works the way I wanted. Finally, now all my videos are going to be in 4K. No more 1080p videos posted to YouTube from now on, or even shorts. So all my videos will be there in that resolution. But yes, I'm with you, Joe. Let me see here. I want to say, okay. So a DTI would probably jump in between the V60 and the 1 Mark III. I think both are great choices. I think the V60 has a lot of good options available there. The only reason why I shift over to the 1 Mark III right now mostly is the 4K. It's a 4K 120. And I feel like if I'm going to basically spend the money on the phone, and it's going to be something that I really need to have like as a one phone, and expandable storage is also the other big thing. Sony, I think at this point is where we want to be. I mean, I know LG would have gotten to that level. Maybe the V70 would have been the QHD in 120 or something to that effect. But unfortunately, since we're never going to see what the V70 or any of the other successors is going to be, it's going to be one of those conversations. We'll have to see how it goes. I need the LG, the V series phones. I know, I'm with you. Let me see here. Oops, I think I jumped a few things. Oh, okay, so Jimmy Fire Dragon has a little bit of a better list here. So Jimmy say the 1 Mark III, the Fold 3, or the Find X3 Pro. Ooh, that's a good series. So the Fold 3 kind of throws a little bit of a wrinkle in there. Sorry. So between the 1 Mark III and the Find X3 Pro, so the Find X3 Pro has a very unique experience going on with it. It has that microscope camera set up on it, a beautiful display, great cameras on it, and it works really nice. It's missing the headphone jack, and I don't think they're ever going to bring that back. There's no expandable storage, and at the best, we're getting QHD at a 120 as opposed to getting 4K at 120. So there's always going to be that conversation. But I would love to either one of those, the Find X3 Pro or the 1 Mark III. But the Fold, I think overall, from a camera experience, I feel like is not going to be the phone that I'm able to rely on. Let's just say that. The selfie that I took this morning from the phone, I took it a couple times with the internal camera on the Fold, and let's just say this much: it was just so bad that I had to retake it with a front-facing camera on the outside. That the other the only 10 megapixel camera that we have on the front. They did something in there. They changed the experience on the Fold, and that's one of those things I really. So if I had to pick between the three, I would still go with the 1 Mark III with the Find X3 Pro as a close second for sure. So Davin Davis joined it. Yes, no, man, congrats. It's one of those things you always love. Like seriously, more and more people are getting their 1 Mark IIIs. I'm waiting for mine, so we'll have to see when that kind of shows up. It's one of those devices that truly, like, I get the chance to play with it. I get a chance to test it out, but Sony is always giving us a short amount of time each time we get a hands on. And it's just that much fun. Like seriously, it's that much fun. And the form factor has definitely grown on me for the most part. The longer form factor, watching movies on it, the speakers on it, HS power control, the configuration, the new options that we have in the system as well. And of course, just literally one of the better options when you're getting 5G, officially 5G in the US. For us, that's a big change because the 2 Mark III, the 1 Mark II never got 5G. So 4G LTE was the max. Now we finally have 5G support in the US, for sure. Oh, Russ is saying LG Fold with headphone jack and a micro SD card with pen support would be the one. You know what? That would have been the phone, right? The foldable, not foldable. I think LG was showing us a rollable phone. Having that with bamboo pen support, as well as having the ability of, like you said, expandable storage, great headphone jack, it would be definitely the step in the right direction we would have wanted to see. The goal of technology, and this is really what gets me a little bit kind of not just excited, but like a little bit frustrated sometimes. Year over year, when you're releasing new versions of your phone, you should always strive to improve that experience. You shouldn't try to go into that experience saying, how can I tailor my experience next year so that it gives the best possible experience I can give? But then you're still increasing price points on what you're releasing. So this is what this is what gets me a little bit with Samsung is as the time goes on, they were on a wave, on a massive wave of every year we get something new. We got the SD card. They took it away. They brought it back. We had the headphone jack. We had a better display. We went to 120 hertz refresh rate. Those things were starting to look up. We went to the S20 Ultra. We had a large display, 5,000 milliampere battery, SD card support, 108 megapixel sensor. A whole bunch of things were starting to improve. Yes, they started to delineate between standard and ultra. And I understood. Again, there's no reason why you can't push people to the higher end for those features. But then S21 Ultra series or S21 comes out, and then I started seeing basically things starting to just fizzle. Samsung's valuing certain things over other, and I feel like that shouldn't be the solution. Your phones aren't getting smaller. You're not making things aesthetically change just because it needs to look better, it needs to fit in a certain aspect. This phone is still a thick phone. It's about the thickness of what the S20 Ultra was. The battery isn't that much bigger. It has actually less power draw on it, so it only goes to 25 watt as opposed to 45 watts. So there's some big differences that you did to compromise the experience, but yet it's still a big phone. It's still a heavier phone, and those are the things that I feel like I don't understand the change there. Headphone jack is a conversation that we've had for many times, but the SD card functionality, MST support taking away, a small, same size battery but slower charging. I don't think there was ever a problem with the S20 Ultra charging any issues with the 45-watt charger. But again, those are some changes that you have to kind of concentrate. I want it to be better though. I want the next series to make me want to leave my current phone to jump into it. And they're losing their way in that direction. They need to start building that. The Z Flip 3 and the Z Fold 3, I was excited and a little bit taken back a little bit by some of the improvements that we saw. I felt like the Z Flip 3 provided us the best improvements overall between the Fold and the Flip. When I got both of them and I started using both phones, I still found my way that basically saying that the Fold is a better phone than the Flip, not because of the price, but it is because of the way Samsung put it. They've purposely if they purposely did not include DACs, they purposely did not include screen mirroring on $1,000 flip phone. Don't understand that, and I don't know why. I understand all of the other stuff, the IP rating. I understand the fact that they added stereo speakers. Again, great improvements, the bigger display on the outside. The cameras, not exactly a big improvement there, but overall, those two features for me when I'm using a smartphone, like when I want to pay $1,000, which is what the S21 Ultra sells for right now, I want to be able to get DeX. I want to be able to get a large battery. I want to be able to do a lot of work. Giving me folding capabilities and crippling all of that other stuff and still charging about $1,000, it truly ends up becoming something that you're buying that phone purely for looks. You're not buying it for function. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I don't think I'll be keeping the Z Flip. The Z Fold is going to be the one for me to keep with. Side Streets is saying, what's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Oops, and I think I jumped again. Hold on, I hate it when it does that. Let me see here. Simon says, Hypno. Aisha says, hi, hope you're doing well. I'm still hoping that the One M7 refresh of a legend. Yes, the HTC One M7 it truly is an icon. I mean, it's one of those. It's almost like the HTC HT2, the phone that almost never died, and I don't even know if it's still going. But there was this thing going on in the ROMing in the community, basically in the XDA community, even in ROMs. It was the phone that just would never die. Every time a new version of Android came up, that phone somehow got a port, and it was something that they basically wanted to see how long could they have kept that device going with that specific set of hardware, pushing the limits of how long a phone can last. But yes, the M1 is definitely for sure one of the better options. Greg in UROM is the escalator. Sorry, it runs Android 12 beta very, very slowly. Exactly. Man, it is one of those things you always have to kind of appreciate. AOSP ROM on the 11 with the Nexus P 11. I saw an IKEA Sonos speaker and also their other branding. The sound was not bad at all. It depends on so IKEA. I mean, when you rebrand things, you're going to have to basically appreciate the pricing that they're bringing it to you. It's mostly trying to bring you something that typically would cost more, but it is through a deal through those companies for sure. Let me see here. Okay, so here, this is an interesting one. So, Amaldi's asking, saying, "It's hey TK. The truth about it is, most people won't need a flagship level smartphone, social media, YouTube photos, and the casual gaming. Absolutely, the things that we just listed on that list do not need a flagship phone. The flagship capabilities are truly the higher end functions like of what you do. And when we're saying gaming, we're talking about casual gaming, obviously. But the concern that you'll start noticing, and this is something that we need to keep in mind when we say gaming, gaming phones have a specific purpose for them, and it is actually the prime reason for these phones, and the rest is pretty much tacked on to either make it look like a standard phone or run like a regular phone. So what I mean to say is by this: if you're buying this phone, if you're going for the Redmagic 6S Pro or 6 or any of the Redmagic series or the ROG or insert Black Shark or any gaming moniker gaming phone specific, you're not buying them for their cameras, right? You're not buying them because they look like a regular phone, they look like a Samsung, right? No, you're buying them because they look like a gaming phone. They have aesthetics and looks and specific designs done specifically. Hold on, let me see if I can get this right. So you can see here, it does not look like a regular phone. It definitely stands out. You're playing with this, you're going to know. They add triggers on them so that they actually run like a gaming phone, like as if you have a controller on the phone. So the purpose of a gaming phone, if it truly is meant to be a gaming phone, if you're gaming realistically, you are going to need certain level of improvements. A processor like the 765 can't perform at the same level on PUBG, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, or any of the other ones. There are going to be some crippling factors based on the horsepower that you have. That may require you to go slightly more on the flagship processor, but you don't have to pay flagship devices. Where we're talking sorry where we're talking basically on devices that typically we use on the daily, like if again you're just checking your email, want to make sure to take pictures, you have a good cell reception, you have 5G on it, which now is becoming more of a real thing that people are actually looking for. I think those are going to be very well met with a mid-ranger, a 765 series smartphone like a Nord, the OnePlus, the OnePlus Nord, or the Pixel 5, or even the Pixel 4a, the Pixel 5a can actually perform quite well in 2021. It's a large display. It has 5G. It has a large battery, a decent camera sensor, amazing post-processing capabilities with Google capabilities with the cameras. So you definitely, and of course, Android 12 much faster than some of the other ones on the market. There's no question. Yes, flagship. The term flagship has gone too far. We've gone. This is where basically it's truly a software kind of a game, not a hardware. The hardware is surpassed way more than what we need. Camera sensors are great, but the biggest thing that we always see the difference between a smartphone and another is how does the company that is carrying that sensor perform in managing the software? How is the post processing done? How is the color science that they're in there? How do they tune the camera into what those all of those little parts are very important in how those images come out and how people appreciate the image that comes out from there. Let me see here. I think take me see here. I see okay, so Simon and Joe are talking a little bit. Davin Davis, um, TK, mine is in the repair shop. Oh, okay. Mine is in the repair shop. I'll see if I can send you pictures when it's completed. It looks very, very unique. Definitely. No, I can't wait. Yeah, definitely appreciate it, man. It is one of those things you always have to appreciate when things kind of, when you're fixing things. The SD card is the biggest issue, really. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's not because I feel like, the advocates of removing the SD card would be like, well, it's just not as fast. It's not really needed. It's not there for it to be the fastest storage available in the phone. You can still buy 128 gig internal storage and then add a 256 or a 512 and then just load your media onto it. Reduce the storage on your main drive so that your main system runs as fast as it can. And then everything that you use every once in a while just ends up sitting where it needs to be. I think that's the biggest thing. Yes, SD cards are it's literally a dying breed. We're finding that mid-range and low-end devices are carrying them still, but at the flagship level, where you're paying more to supposedly get more, surprisingly, we're finding less and less devices that actually offer that opportunity for us. Let's see here. Oops, I was looking at the comment from Russ. Oh, here it is. So Russ was saying is the S21 Ultra can still have a headphone jack in my opinion. Maybe Samsung just doesn't want to. Maybe Samsung just doesn't want to. Hopefully, the S22 or the Note 22 Ultra brings back the the mystique of A previous smartphone, the Mystère. Yeah, no. Um, it's going to be like I'm hoping. I mean, this will be definitely one of the biggest surprises of Samsung. Like literally, like if they wanted to catch the biggest wave that people will jump back on Team Samsung faster than anything, is start bringing back some of the features that you took away, which sadly you took away. But I think that would be a big, nice, very amazing media wave. And believe me, people will eat it up right away. People will love it. Um, Find me in the beginning of that line too. I will basically be right there. But we'll have to see how they do it. I think some of the leaks that we've seen, it's again more optimization, sleeker design, better looking phone. And at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, but you have no idea what my phone looks like under this. I mean, obviously, because you guys have seen it. This is a very, tech friendly, very, you guys know what an S21 Ultra looks like. But really, when you put it in a case like this, you put a glass protector on the front, you put a protector on the lenses in the back, you really have no idea what the phone looks like. So all of the design aesthetics and changes that we keep doing to these phones, don't get me wrong, I love looking at them in pictures, but in reality, in practical use, we case our devices. Once you put a case on a phone, the color does not matter. The look, the design, the material on it does not matter. And if you're carrying a phone without a case, and I don't think most people do, they will protect their investment. Although this is something, like I said, it depends on the case you're getting. It's one of those things. Again, I feel like the next series from Samsung is going to be in that matter. Um, yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Uh, they missed the mark with having the SD card. Yeah, no, definitely, Russ. Always. Arya saying, "Hey man, hope you're doing well." Hey Arya. Uh, oh, here. So I'm a little bit disappointed to hear that Google's following suit and giving the chart in not including a charger in the box. I would be tempted to get the Xperia Mark III if it doesn't live up to my expectations. So yes, I was actually very now. It's totally possible Google could change, but the reality, I think this has been just confirmed at this point. Yeah, the 6 and the 6 Pro, which hopefully will be coming up in the near future, will not include a charger in the box. And I also feel like it's also going to include some new technology of charging, which will be faster than what we've seen in the past. So I'm a little bit sad to see Google following suit in that manner, because the reality of the matter is it's creating another purchase. And I know we had this conversation before on the podcast. We talked about it. There's the whole pro and con of including and not including a charger. If you want to get the best experience on your charging experience on your phone, especially since not all phones that are released by companies include like wireless charging or also include a standardized charging technology. Power delivery is a big standard. Gang chargers are also very, very capable. So I'm probably thinking that's more than likely the technology that Google is going to go with, because they've gone with PD before. This is not unlikely of them. So even though they've used Qualcomm chipsets in the past, they didn't rely on quick charge as their technology. So they could basically rely on that and just go further than the 15 or the 25-watt charging that we've seen in the past. They may go 30 or so, or maybe even higher. Samsung, and sorry, not Samsung, Sony did something a little bit different. They went up to 30 watts, but they include the charger in the box. So they realized that at the end of the day, look, better give the consumer a fully well-rounded experience. I think at the end of the day, so here, and you can let me know what you guys think in the comments. For people that turn in the devices, that upgrade devices, right? I think you should be turning in your phone with a charger with it. Seriously, if you're selling or if you're trading in a phone, sell it and trade it in with a charger, therefore reducing the carbon footprint. And then you allow these companies to recycle the materials from these chargers and create other chargers from it. Also could be a helpful situation for us. The reason why a lot of people have chargers sitting at home, okay, the cause of that reason, which I don't think people discuss, is because if you've ever traded in a phone, if you've ever gone into, let's say, a store, T-Mobile, Verizon, whatever, or if you've gone to Apple or Samsung or whatever, when you trade in your phone, well, let's say I'm upgrading from the 21 to the 22 or insert XYZ, they only request me to send them the phone. The charger that came with this, that I did get sorry, take that back. This one didn't come with, the S21 doesn't come, but I'm saying is earlier generations. If we traded in our phones with the chargers, that would have reduced the footprint and also would have helped with the cost for them, so that they can recoup some of that cost with those phones if they don't end up reselling them. Because when they resell them or where they send them to other markets to get them resold, they're having to put a charger with it, right? It's sold as a secondhand unit, and at that point it is going to include something from them to make it a better deal for people buying it secondhand. So again, that whole conversation of losing the headphone, the charger in the box, I don't understand it. I don't understand it, and I don't understand why it's becoming a standard. Because if you really think about it, this would be really frustrating if I got my Tesla and it didn't come with a charging plug that I can plug it into the wall and charge it. Don't get me wrong; it's going to be very slow, but in a pinch, it's always nice to have that as opposed to not having any option with my car. So those are things that I always appreciate about having a full, well-rounded solution. Giving me a phone that out of the yeah, it's like if I bought it and I forgot to pick up the charger, and then I get it and I don't have the right charger to charge it with, like the fast charging that comes with it, that's going to change my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I know I can charge it with a slow charger from something else, but that's not going to give me that, well, this charges at 30, but no, please use your other charger that gives it 15. It's going to be one of those things. It's, like I said, it changes the experience, that out of the box experience that a lot of people enjoy it. Oops, I think I jumped over. I think I was trying to click Davin's question or comment. Oh, here we are. Okay, so Davin Davis, I'm not too far behind, guys. Sorry. TK, while I understand most people won't do this, the right to repair, including availability of parts, really helps to expand the life of a device. It's something that I think a lot of us don't realize that we don't have access to, especially when you go into the Apple ecosystem. Having companies wanting you to go and repair things strictly with them and only with them, and not allowing you to repair your own hardware, is a big thing. I mean, this is a big change into something like, you buy something from me, you don't really own all entirely. We don't. So they don't give you root access. You don't have full control over that phone. So that's partially, they still control a good part of it. Obviously, they install the software, so on. But I'm looking at it from basically, you're buying a phone that you don't fully control. That's one part. But then not allowing you to fix your phone at a third party reseller, because going back to the main company costs so much more because they can hike up their price. It's a monopoly situation. If you can only fix your device at the company that made that device, they're always going to be more expensive than the regular. So those are things to look at. But right to repair, as Russ was saying, or Davin Davis, sorry, um, it's a big factor. I think we need to have the ability of being able to take our phone to a shop and get it fixed, and not having our phone invalidate itself because the hardware that was included wasn't purchased directly from Apple or from Samsung. So those are things that we always appreciate. So I'm with you. Yeah, right to repair, allowing us to fix our own things. Um, so Russ is asking is, what do you use to measure temperatures? So I use my handy temperature gun that I have here, and I don't know how to. It's actually, I think it's a Milwaukee. I want to say it is, but I don't know. I don't. Oh no, it's an HDE. It's an infrared thermometer. So let me see if I can show you. Yeah, right there. That's the temperature gun that I use typically to measure the temperatures on my phone. And what I typically do. So let's go ahead and switch over to the overhead. So like here, I'll turn it on. It basically measures the temperature, and I can actually measure the temperature with the phone. Obviously, we're not using it, so that's the room temperature, about 75 degrees. I do have the AC running in the room, so that's probably what you got. What the reason why the temperature is showing up at that. But like, yeah, I can put it on my hand, and hopefully see like right there, like my hand is warm. Obviously, it's it gets it's a little bit more accurate on surfaces depending on where you are. But when you're holding your hand and you obviously different things, your hands would typically be the warmest. I didn't want to point it to my head. I don't want to get it in. I'm not going to say anything. Aditya, don't say anything. Yeah. Oh man, my God, this is the Dean Show. Hey man. So okay. The Dean Show. I'm not sure what that word means. If you don't mind, maybe explaining that to us, we appreciate that a little bit more. Um, Here, Russ is jumping in. The smartphone comes with no charger. Then the 65-watt should be the standard charging wireless 2, if possible. I want them to include as much as possible to give us the best options. I think Google's first phone, it's hard to kind of say first phone, right? Because we're talking about, this is like, Pixel 6. It's not Pixel 5 or Pixel, the first Pixel. I think the reality is what we're seeing now is we're going to see Google's tailoring of that experience. This is Google's vision of hardware, configuration, software with new UI, Material U, and a vision of a camera implementation in there, and see how they perform with what we're seeing essentially to be one of the higher performing camera sensors. One of the better performance cameras I've seen on the market to this day is the GN1 sensor that I've seen on the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra. By far, some of the best camera experiences there. I feel like this is something that we're going to start to appreciate it a little bit more. So I'm really hoping that Google does a decent job in providing us a good experience there. But I do hope also that like I said, the charger, even though it's going to be sold separately, doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and or could be replaced with, let's say, something like, um, I can't find it here. So, anyways, like the one I showed you last week, the one that the basically the 45-watt charger from, um, oh man, Spigen. That one would actually should be really a good option. It sells for about $20. You can pick it up. Goes all the way up to 45 watts. Charges your Samsung devices, your Google devices, PD or anything like that. I think it'll be really nice. So we'll have to see how that goes. Uh, oh yeah. So you guys didn't catch that yesterday. That was really kind of a cool little. I was trying to be a little bit sly with Juan yesterday. We met up at the park, as you guys know. We're concluding our challenge, and just for reference, Juan, if you're watching this, I really like these guys. I'm really the only thing I'll probably say is this: they're a little bit bigger than I'm typically used to when it comes down to headphones or in-ear monitors, because they are going over and then basically going in. They're definitely bigger, but 6 driver earbuds is crazy different. Like I was really surprised. So I'm using it with my Bolt or my Helm Bolt, and what I ended up doing is essentially Greg printed out some 3D models for both he and I, and I haven't got a chance to give one his. I haven't seen him a lot, and I forgot about it last time when we met up at the park. So Greg was like, "Hey, make sure you give it to him." So I figured, what better way to do it than to switch over and put it inside of the case because they fit perfectly there. So Juan opened it up, enjoyed it. It looked really, really nice. Thank you very much, Greg. That was a very, very nice, and he actually did print out a couple of megapixels for Juan. So there was a little bit of the megapixel, if you guys know that one from Juan. It looks really nice. Um, Okay, so D-Rod is asking is when do you think the iPhone 13 will go on sale? Typically, and I say this just typically so Apple announces their devices roughly, I think it was in the middle of the week, which is what we're getting next week, and I think within a couple of days. So more than likely, pre-sales. I would anticipate pre-sales to go on be available within a couple of days of the announcement. So they'll set it up and it'll open up at like 5 a.m. in the morning Pacific Standard Time, the way they typically do, and then people will start getting their devices hopefully by the end of the month. I think that's the typical cycle. But more than likely, the moment the announcement starts or the moment is over, you're going to start seeing all the Verge and all of the other companies, the higher media outlets pushing out their reviews of the device because obviously they've had it for the last 2 weeks. So uh, very very shortly, within a couple of days to pre-order, and hopefully within a week or 2 weeks to get it. It's similar to what Samsung kind of pretty much copied from their end as well. But it shouldn't be too long. I think the announcement should be very very much on point, and availability should be pretty much shortly after that. But again, I'm still hoping for that Samsung. Not sorry, I'm still hoping that Apple brings or ushers in 120 promotion on a smartphone. There is no limitation holding them back other than sheer will. It's not the hardware. It's not that the tech can't do it. It's truly a decision on Apple's side of how long they're going to hold out. And so one thing I will say this: I don't like the way the system or the current ecosystem is set up. That unless Apple adopts a certain technology, it's invented then. And what I mean by this is 5G had the longest struggle to get into the market and open up into many carriers, and everybody jumped into it till Apple jumped into it. We had 5G for years before on Android's side, and once Apple adopted it, it became more like everybody's talking 5G. So there is a certain part of the conversation of when Apple jumps on to the 120 hertz refresh rate with promotion, that it's going to open it up for other opportunities. It's going to help the Android side because of the adoption, because of more companies will be able to bring it into a lower pricing. So that's really why I'm excited for Apple, for iPhone to have it. Not to say necessarily that this is something that I value as an iPhone for using something like that on an iPhone, because at the end of the day, there are so many more things I want to do on an Android device that I feel like Apple still doesn't give me the opportunity to do. Let's just say that. So, short answer: I want Apple to move forward and succeed in that manner, so that we will also get even more benefit from it. And again, bringing it to a lower price point, more functionalities, more support, more competition is always good for the user, and I think that's the best solution here. So for me, I would love that. No charger. So the Dean show is it's That statement is a very interesting statement to say. I agree. Where from a company's standpoint, they're producing less hardware, so they're not producing the charger. But at the end of the day, the consumer still has to either a buy another charger or hopefully has the right charger ahead of when the technology has been released. If Google changes dramatically on the power charging capabilities on that device, it's something that basically that we need to kind of, again, how do we stay ahead of that? Am I buying a charger from another company, or am I just not buying it from Google? Therefore, Google is not producing more things, and I'm still putting my money for that specific piece of hardware from another party. You have to kind of look at the full pie. Yeah, I agree. Their point of view is one way. I'm the end user. Can I love it? You have to kind of just look at it and see what the benefit is going to be. Right? But I agree. I'm with you on that one. Uh, did anyone see the Google Pixel 6? Yes. So Jimmy Fire Dragon is saying, did you guys see the Pixel? And then it had made by Google channel about a day or so ago. I saw the video. I was very happy with the design. I finally got to see somebody holding the phone as opposed to just having it flat with a render. So the good thing about it is it definitely doesn't look as big as I thought it was going to be. The design doesn't look very too far out there, kind of, for me to be able to appreciate it. So I think overall, like I said, a good case on anything will make anything look great. Google for sure is going to release the Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro with some amazing cases. So we'll definitely see what they offer. But at the end of the day, it was nice to see that they're focusing on camera experience. The aesthetics look there. And of course, I'm just looking for them to push the market. This is going to literally be a new SoC to compete with the Kirin, the MediaTek, the Qualcomms, of processors out there, and we need to see basically if this is going to become a success, and of course the Exynos of other processors, or is it going to be a sideline? So this is going to be the biggest thing that we actually have to look into. Hans is saying, Sony is the only brand that admitted removing features were wrong. My Xperia is asking me to tell you that. I like it. My Xperia is like, tell TK this is how you fix it. I think it's one of those things you have to kind of also realistically kind of listen to your user base, right? Sony is doubling down on becoming the best that they can for what they offer. When you're buying when you're buying a camera from Sony, you truly get the best that Sony can provide you in that experience. The reason why I decided to go with the E10 over the ZV-1, the reason why I didn't go with the ZV-1 last year, I felt like the ZV-1 was pretty much an RX-7 100 Mark 7 with a new body. I didn't feel like it was that much better. The swivel camera was great. It's a great opportunity for me to utilize that. But I felt like it was held back by some features in their interchangeable lenses, giving me the opportunity to basically use it as they added a lot of features there, but the interchangeable lens part here is a big factor. You buy the ZV-1 and you're stuck with whatever lens do you have there. On the E10, although they do sell the model that I got that one with the kit lens, the kit lens is working perfectly fine. But this is the kick-ass part. I can take the lens that I have on the A7S III if I'm going out and put it on the ZV-E10, and now I just improved the capabilities of my E10 like 110 times. This is how the beauty of interchangeable lenses. I can use my Sigma converter camera adapter that I can use my Canon lenses on it. There is an immense world of portable cameras, and the body is still, again, very nice and very portable. So that's really what I appreciate when Sony comes in with a smartphone, is that they're not skimping anything. They literally, every time, they're trying to figure out how to add more and keep it very nice and very slim. So very good. I'm with you. Thank you to your Xperia smartphone. Let me see here. What do you think of the iPhone 13? Okay, I think D-Rod, I think we already kind of answered that one. I think it's more than likely is going to be within a couple of days after the launch event for pre-sale, and availability within a couple of weeks. Maldi is exactly. I don't even want to touch the phone without a case. Most of them really slippery. So that was the. So that was the biggest thing that I had with the Z Flip. So most phones, especially when you're going glass slabs, which is what everybody's phones are going to be, where we're getting mostly, even if they're not glass slabs, the plastic that we're seeing with most devices, they typically end up basically being slippery phones. So the biggest thing that we have here is the Z Flip. The Z Flip has a glass back, and it is glass on top, glass on the bottom. One of the biggest things that I had with this is when you have it on a table, if it is even somewhat, the table is not leveled and it is a smooth surface, the phone ever so gently starts sliding off. And one of the things, okay, I just noticed I have a massive bubble I have to reapply here. So what I did is I installed a glass protector, or basically a protector for the phone made by Whitestone. Now, Whitestone Dome Glass includes, or they make the glass, or a replacement silk. They call it the silk glass, which essentially is that bendable glass that we can get here. So there's a screen protector installed by Samsung. And if it does get damaged, you don't actually have to go back to Samsung. Whitestone sells one that you can install for yourself. But what I liked about them is they also include a protecting film for the external part. Because it's glass, it's like a display, it's easy to apply a cover for it. And that actually does support it. It reduces the slipperiness. But to that case, again, what Amaldi's actually saying is most of us put a case on our phones. Once you put a case, that beautiful purple phone, again, I'm not trying to knock it down. I'm not saying that the color is not great, you know, is 90% gone. I mean, you could see a little bit there, realistically. Here, let me see. You can barely catch the purple there. You can see some of it there. But the reality at the end of the day, the color of the phone, the shape of the phone, the design of the phone doesn't really matter. It's really more about protection because we don't want to lose our phone if we drop it. Let me see here. Let me see here. Da, da, da. So the other thing actually I wanted to kind of talk about, I just realized, man, we're at the 1 hour and 20 minutes. We're hitting that point mark. We're getting into a point of the time of the year. It's called, what people like we started calling in the tech industry, at least, or the tech YouTube industry, is Techtober, or September, October. We're getting into a period of time where there's a lot of devices are going to start releasing. I'm anticipating some kind of an update from Xiaomi, hopefully in the next week. There's also another Xiaomi event going on, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's on the 14th. There's going to be the OnePlus. I think somebody was mentioning the OnePlus in the chat as well. So there's going to be probably a T series of the OnePlus. I'm hoping they stick to what they did last year, where it's not necessarily like a 9T Pro edition. It's going to be more of a midpoint between the 9 and the 9 Pro. So that part of it. Although I don't know how OnePlus can overdo or outdo what they did last year with the 8T. Maybe better collaboration with better game titles. I love that. The AT, I think Cyberpunk edition was amazing. The Xiaomi Mi 11T and 11T Pro event, and the Pad 5 global launch. Yes, Jimmy Fire Dragon. I think that's what we're looking into. So the 11T Pro, and the Mate Pad global launch. That's probably going to be what we see next week. The T series from OnePlus, obviously. I don't know if I could be wrong. There could be another Reno device coming up before the end of the year. Reno's typically released within 5 to 6 months cycles. Android 12 is going to be coming up. We're going to start seeing betas from other companies coming up at that as well. So hopefully we'll see Oppo, OnePlus, Samsung. I want to see what the One UI ecosystem is going to do. So there's a lot of things coming up. It's going to be a busy season. There's a few other things also that I'm kind of working on with some companies as well to try to get you guys the best experience. Not that kind of want to end the show. So this week has been an interesting week for me. I tried to put out as much content as I could, and I did try to cover a certain type of content in there. I fell through on one of my collaborations that I was trying to work on something that I enjoyed quite a bit that I did a couple of years ago, and I was hoping to be able to go support and do that again. But unfortunately, got the bad news yesterday that I won't be able to support it this year. Although I'm very ready to start traveling a little bit as well, not a lot, but at least a little bit. So if things change, hopefully, as I like to say all the time, inshallah, everything will change. But we'll see how it goes. The biggest thing I would probably say, it is the time of the show where it is basically the Z Flip 3 folding glass 2. Okay, so the Dean show, I'll give you a real quick answer. So before I answer that one, okay, so real quick, before we jump in, there's a couple good questions coming in here from the Dean Show and Aditya. It's about that time that we start putting in the, hashtag TKBay. This is the TKception part of the show. Kind of a way for us to kind of recognize different members of the show. Obviously, people that have been participating in the chat and hanging out with us. So it is almost that time of that show. But with that being said, I'm going to jump in real quick and answer a couple of questions. One from the Dean Show, and then kind of go from there. So the Dean Show is actually mentioning is that there's an ad. It's a Bollywood actors saying that the Z Flip 3, the Z Flip 3 folding glass as well. So technically, yes, Samsung. We had the same conversation last year with the Z Flip 3. The Z Flip and the Z Fold 2. There is somewhat glass material in there. I think if you want to basically see this, check out Jerry Rig Everything. Zach did a disassembly of the Z Fold 3, the Z Flip. I think the Z Flip last year. And when he was removing the display, as he's removing the actual display, you could see it shatter as if there is glass in there. So the material in there is very like glass. It's not exactly as rigid as glass. It's intended to be more of a bendable material, but has more resilience than what we had before. This year, what they did is they changed the screen protector that they used on it to be a little bit more resilient, and it feels more like a regular display than what we've seen in the past. So that may be a better solution there. But then when we're looking at other devices, I mean, it's not a lie. It's more of how you represent the data. Let me see here. Okay. So a DTS on a completely irrelevant question, between the Helm Bolt DAC amp and the THX Onyx, those are the two that Juan and I were actually we exchanged to be able to test out. Which one would you recommend? I want to pick the one. I want to pick the one up for the quad DAC for the Onyx. Has caught my eye as well. So I'll say this. Sound to price performance, the Helm is a much better deal. I feel like the Helm provides. They're both. This is the thing. They're both THX certified, so they're both going to provide you. Literally, a very similar experience. It's just that you're going with the Onyx meaning being made by THX, or you're going with Bolt, the Bolt being made by Helm. I think at the end of the day, seriously, with most of the apps being on mobile and desktop, there really wasn't that much of a noticeable difference in performance. The audio wasn't that much better. They both will improve the audio, but at about $100, the Bolt will definitely work much better for you. Neither one of them give you more control over the other. It's literally on form factor. The Helm has a smaller footprint, still provides the same experience. You still have the MQA and ability of listening to mastered audio. It's going to drive your headphones exactly the way you want them to. So you're not really going to be missing out on either. Depends on how much you find them, and if the price in your region is the same, then you could potentially just go with what you're getting there. I feel like the Onyx maybe has better material. It's it's longer, it's easier, it's magnetic on the top on its own. But I feel like the reinforcements on the actual corner. So let me show you what I mean. So there is some decent reinforcement on the ends here and here on both of these devices. And this one has a coil. The Onyx had a bigger, thicker cable, and it is rubberized covered all across. So from a standpoint of just function, I feel like the Onyx may be a little bit better, but I don't feel like the price point justifies going from one to the other. I think I would still go with the Bolt, just for your best solution. It's also smaller, fits in your pocket, works easier. It's compressed. The Helm was a little bit shorter than this, but expanded, it goes a lot longer. So again, wires, it's going to be one of those things you want to keep in mind. I appreciate it, Greg. Yeah, no, it's more about just, when you're working with a brand or you're working with a company that you've worked with before and you're a big fan of their work. I don't want to make it, sorry. So hopefully things will change. Things may change still. I don't know. We'll see how things go. It is definitely not. We'll have to see how it goes. I don't want to. If I explain a little bit more, it'll give out too much information. Yeah, sorry. Don't worry about it. It caught me off guard. And sometimes when you're looking for support from people that you've worked with and you think they got your back, and then the ball gets dropped, and then you feel like, okay, I see where we are now. It's one of those things. But yeah, so hopefully things change. And you know what? I look at it as there's a saying, or actually we all know this. When one door closes, another one opens, or maybe 5 open. So I'm hoping that this is that, and we'll see how the future kind of helps. We are getting into October. There's not going to be any shyness of work for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I think, yeah, we are at that time. Let me see here. I think so. We're going to start off with Chemi. I think I see a few more. Oops. Yes. Okay. Sabaha. Okay, here we are. So I opened up Chemi. We're gonna say share. And right before I started the show, I was like wondering, it's like, why my second display is not working? Because I do this on a separate display. And apparently my hub, because of the power outage that we had this morning, it's not on, it always goes into sleep mode, but it turned off because there was no power. So let's do there, right there. So thank you very much for everybody, of course. Chemi, of course, always a big supporter of the channel as well. Let me jump back in here. So Joe Hickey, always appreciate it, man. Thank you. And it is, like I said, the biggest thing about what happened on with this decision was more about um, okay. So I'm not gonna lie, it hit me hard. It kind of threw off my entire day yesterday after I left after I came back home from hanging out with Juan. But it is what it is. What do? We have to move on. We have to find a better way to do things. And like I said, hanging out with you guys today was literally the best therapy I could have ever done. I didn't want to kind of put that out there too much, but with the with what's going on with that. But like I said, one door closes, many more will open. So with that being said, thank you to Greg as always. I think hold on a second. I think I dropped it. Did I miss Greg? Where is? Oh no, here. Greg, thank you. TKception, always as always. Joey B, thank you very much for hanging out with us, man. TKception, TK Foodie Bay, TKception, TK Super, TK True Pro. I appreciate it, man. And I really appreciate it. There's a big part of what we are and what we do on a daily basis, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it feels like we're all by ourselves, and that's one of the biggest thing I'll have to say. And this is not gonna. This is just really me being the way it is. I really appreciate Juan for everything that he does. He is truly the best friend that I've had in this industry since I've started. And I say this because we have it went from the I know where you take your photos from, and this was from an honor event to literally we hang out, we talk, we chat, we're there for each other. And I feel like this is a friendship, and you guys also fit into a massive part of what I do. The Saturday morning show is truly your show. It isn't really my show. It's not me about talking about what I want. It's really about me hanging out with you guys. So whatever happens, whatever we're going forward to, we'll do that. And then I think that's the big thing I wanted. I want to say that at the end of the day, I appreciate every one of you guys hanging out, helping me out, and just checking in every once in a while and saying hello. Because at the end of the day, seriously, it does sometimes feel like you're by yourself, and it is a one person battle uphill with everything. When we run our channel, we run every aspect of a business that typically has people doing it by one person. So I always appreciate you guys being there. Thank you very much. Chemi's in there, of course. There, TK Amigo, gracias, mi amigo. TKception, TK Arbay, TK Tesla Bay. Yeah, dude, that video on the Tesla, the Tesla app on the watch. So happy, finally on a Samsung watch, for sure. Greg, TK the Tinker. I love tinkering, of course. Hans, TK. Oh, TK, forget the Z Flip Fold Xperia one to go. Man, Hans wins Hans definitely wins that one there. Russ, thank you very much. Of course, TKception, Jimmy Fire Dragon, TKception. Have a great weekend to everybody. TK Sony Xperia, Our Bay, Audiophiles, DAC Bay, of course. Seriously, guys, if you have a smartphone, if you have anything relating to audio and you enjoy your music, you owe it to yourself to pick up any kind of DAC that you're able to help improve the audio quality out of your smartphone. And believe me when I say is that your ears will love you back for it. You're going to enjoy the music better. You're going to enjoy just exploring other genres of music even more. But not only that, you're also protecting your ears. You do not have to increase the volume so high so that it ends up becoming clear for you to enjoy the music. You can enjoy music literally at almost 50 to 60% level volume on many devices. So for sure, Aditya, the man, the myth, the Mr. Cumberbatch of our lives, TK looking handsome with the fresh beard trim bay. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's something that I felt like would look better, a little bit cleaner. We'll see how also kind of when I shave the hair, the head again on Sunday. I think we'll see how it looks like on Monday's videos. But for sure, man. Fadil Sabahos, ahlan wa sahlan. Hope you're doing well. Greg, Joe Hickey in there, TK Alpha Bay, TK Team Pixel for sure. Always, always, always. Davin Davis hitting us up also with the support. TK Roots to Tesla Bay. Oh man, always, always happy with that. And I think if I'm seeing something here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Um, Thank you very much to Aditya for the super chat, man. I always, always appreciate your support. TK, we love you. Please don't lose hope. You're awesome. You're an awesome human being. Thank you very much. A dad, a friend, a techie, and so much more. And it is always appreciated that when people see beyond the persona that we put out. But you're right, it is part of our lives, and we're all like that. We all try to be the best that we can in whatever we do. There's only more success and growth going coming your way. Virtual hugs, always, always appreciated. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Um, Bob, thank you very much, Greg, and oh man, Joe is in there as well. TK, many many doors will open for you, my friend. I'm certain of that is for sure. We all appreciate you and always appreciate your work. I appreciate you, man. Like I said, this show is really about us hanging out together and about us hanging out and kicking it together. And for the better part of anything else, like I said, it truly feels like therapy for me, because we can't be in one room to sit down together, but through this live stream every Saturday, we get a chance to kick it and have fun with it. So with that being said, again, I want to say thank you very much to everybody for hanging out with us. And again, do good, be well, and try to be the best person in your life. Opportunities come and go. And sometimes opportunities that have come and that you've worked with may end up not being available for you at some point. And you know what? At the end of the day, that may not be a bad thing. It's going to hit you. It's going to make you feel weird, and you're going to feel down a little bit for a certain amount of time. But the main thing is to learn from what you did and to move forward. And the reality of the matter is there's always a second round. There's always going to be something else that you can come into, and we'll see how things go. Um, the solution that where I am right now with the situation, it's not that it's the end of the world. It just means I'm going to have to figure out a better way to do things in my in my future work, and try to figure out how to improve things and make things a little bit better. So with that being said, I want to say thank you very much to everybody, to Joe, to Russ, to Aditya, to Greg, to Bob. To Chemi's in there, of course, Davin Davis, Joe again, Jimmy Fire Dragon in there, Hans is in there. Thank you very much. The Dean Show, and everybody that hung out with us today and got a chance to basically spend some of your morning, some of your day, or even evening, depending where you are, to have a nice little chat. So thank you very much. Be safe, stay safe, do well to each other, and be nice to each other. And definitely reach out to somebody you haven't talked to for some time. Believe me, I always say this, but it is something that always brought me a surprise, and a pleasant surprise, by reaching out to some friends I haven't talked to for some time. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Best of Our Week on Thursday with Juan. Of course, on Saturday with another Saturday morning with Tech. And let's not forget the show, the myth, the SGTQA is coming back on Monday morning. So I'll see a lot of you guys in the chat as well. And I appreciate that. And yes, Aditya, I try. At the end of the day, realistically, if there's one thing I've learned in my old age, if I'm going to start throwing age numbers and so on, yeah, be nice to each other. You never gain anything from trying to be in any way, shape, or form holding anything against anybody else. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't change things. It's just who you are and how you move forward is the best way to look at it. So take care. I'll see you next Saturday. And thank you for everything that you guys did today for me. I appreciate it a lot. Bye-bye for now.